everyone, and a warm welcome to the second webinar on biomanufacturing of bio-based chemicals under the webinar series on biofoundry and biomanufacturing hosted in collaboration with BIRAB. I am Dr. Amit Kumar Yadav, scientist G at DBT, and I will be moderating today's session. We appreciate the diverse participation of our audience today who have joined from across the country. We believe that your engagement will make this session truly interactive and insightful. Please feel free to share your questions and comments using the chat feature. We will address as many questions as possible during the question and answer session. Today's webinar will focus on key aspects of biomanufacturing of bio-based chemicals from both academia and industry perspectives. This platform aims to foster valuable insights into this critical subsector, advancing collaboration across academia and industry. We are delighted to have an esteemed panel of speakers who will share their expertise. From DBT, we have Dr. Alka Sharma, Senior Advisor DBT, and Dr. Vaishali Punjabi, Scientist at DBT. Academic perspective will be shared by Dr. S. Venkatamohan, Scientist at CSIR IICT Hyderabad, and the industry perspective will be shared by Dr. Ashwini Shetty, Strategy and Technology Lead Renewable Chemicals and Material Praj Industries Pune. Without taking more time to commence this session, I invite Dr. Alka Sharma, Senior Advisor DBT, to set the context for today's session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thanks, Amit. Namaskar. Good afternoon to all of you. On behalf of Department of Biotechnology and BioRec, I welcome you all for today's webinar on bio-based chemicals under the Biomanufacturing Initiative of Department of Biotechnology. This is second in series. This webinar is focused on bio-based chemicals. As you are aware, the global challenges such as climate change, unsustainable pattern of material consumption and waste generation require concerted sustainable interventions. High-performance biomanufacturing has potential to provide solutions to these challenges by fundamentally transforming global economy from today's consumptive and unsustainable manufacturing paradigm to one based on regenerative principles. Keeping in view the national importance, this year in August, the Union Cabinet, under the chairmanship of our Honorable Prime Minister, has approved the BioE3, that is Biotechnology for Economy, Environment and Employment policy, formulated by Department of Biotechnology in consultation with all the stakeholders for fostering high-performance biomanufacturing in the country. Thereafter, the BioE3 policy was released by the Honorable Minister of State, Independent Charge, Science and Technology, Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji. This will play an important role in facilitating and building resilient biomanufacturing ecosystem in the country to accelerate cutting-edge innovations for developing bio-based products. This policy aligns with the clarion call for lifestyle for the environment, that is LIFE, launched by the Honorable Prime Minister to propel mitigation of global climate change by incorporating green and friendly environmental solutions in every aspect of life. The Union Budget of 2023 and 24 announced by the Government of India has also laid emphasis on green growth. Further, biofoundry and biomanufacturing has been announced as a new scheme in the interim Union Budget during the financial year 2024-2025. Based on the national consultation meeting, international consultation, interministerial consultation, close to 20 sectoral experts committee meetings across the country. 6 thematic sectors with subsectors have been identified for implementation of the biomanufacturing initiative across the country. These sectors include bio-based chemicals and enzymes, smart proteins and functional food, precision biotherapeutics, climate-resilient agriculture, carbon capture and its utilization, and marine and space research. This bioenergy include plans for setting up of bioenablers such as bio-AI hubs, biofoundries, and biomanufacturing hubs to support research, innovation, and scale up of bio-based products. These hubs will also nurture development of a skilled cohort of new generation of interdisciplinary researchers accomplished in synthetic biology, metabolic engineering, bioprocess engineering, artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc., to take forward the goals of Bio3 policy. A strategic roadmap has also been formulated for implementation of biomanufacturing initiative under these thematic verticals and all also for setting up of bio enablers. The first DBT by joint call for inviting proposals and for Mulanku, that is bioenablers, biofoundries, and biomanufacturing hubs, has also been issued jointly by DBT and BIREC, and large number of proposals have been received. I'm happy to share that India's first biomanufacturing institute, that is National Agri-Food and Biomanufacturing Institute at Mohali, has been inaugurated and dedicated to the nation by the Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji, in October this year. You can also visit the website of Biomanufacturing Initiative through Department of Biotechnology website for more information regarding the activities under this initiative. And memorandum of understanding has also been signed between Department of Biotechnology and ISRO, Department of Space, for cooperation in space biotechnology and biomanufacturing in October this year. The outreach activities being carried out by the department on a large scale through the press meet, Vartalab, editorials and newspapers, social media handles, DD channels, talk on the radio, school campaign, and so on to spread awareness about the implications for Bio3 policy on present and future generations. To further disseminate information about this policy and also discuss about the thematic verticals in detail, webinar series on biofoundry and biomanufacturing initiative has now been conducted on fortnightly basis jointly by DBT and BIREC. The first webinar on Bio3 policy for fostering high performance biomanufacturing was successfully organized on 14th November. The webinar series will focus on scientific talks and discussions by DBT and BIREC officials and eminent scientists on each of the thematic sectors and subsectors of biomanufacturing, emphasizing upon development in the respective sector and how it will have impact in bioeconomy of the country. It will also provide a valuable platform for academicians, researchers, startups, SMEs, and industry representatives to gain insights into the policy and its implication for fostering high performance biomanufacturing in the country. And you all are aware that the theme of today's webinar is bio-based chemicals. So with this background, I once again welcome each one of you for today's webinar and hope that you will find this interactive webinar very interesting and informative. Looking forward to your active participation. Thank you very much for joining us for today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for providing an excellent overview of the vision and objectives of the Bio3 policy. Our next speaker is Dr. Vaishali Punjabi, scientist at DBT, who will discuss about the subsector biomanufacturing of bio-based chemicals. Over to you, ma'am.
You're not audible, I think.
Good afternoon, everyone. Biomanufacturing of bio-based chemicals is one of the important verticals of the Bio3 policy for fostering high-performance biomanufacturing. Slides. Specialty chemicals play a crucial role in our lives. They include agrochemicals, pharmaceuticals, polymers, textile auxiliaries, and so on. So global market for specialty chemicals is at US dollar 640 billion for 2023 and is expected to reach 940 billion by 2031, growing at a CAGR of 5%. The major leading sectors for specialty chemicals worldwide are APIs and agribiologicals. So India is projected to have largest market share among all the countries in the coming years, mainly due to its increasing population and rising demand for specialty chemicals. So Indian specialty chemical industry represents 22% of the overall chemicals and petrochemicals market, and it is anticipated to reach 64 billion US dollar by 2025, growing at a CAGR of 12%, much higher than the worldwide CAGR. The major segments for specialty chemicals in the Indian market are agrochemicals, APIs, dyes, and pigments. So majority of the specialty chemicals today are derived from non-renewable fossil fuels. They account for 12% of the greenhouse gas emissions. Growing population and increasing demand for specialty chemicals will lead to further rise in emission of greenhouse gases. Another challenge for the specialty chemicals is limited supply of non-renewable resources, that is fossil fuels, high dependence on import of fossil fuels. Most of it is getting imported from outside, and volatile market prices. So consumer demand for eco-friendly products is also increasing. Hence, there is a need to shift to renewable resources for biomanufacturing of chemicals. So currently, global petrochemical and polymer production is at 330 million tons. Previous slide, please. Out of which, bio-based chemicals and polymer production is only 90 million tons currently. Currently, 200 bio-based chemicals are being produced out of 70,000 chemicals commercially available. There is a projected rise of 22% in the production of bio-based chemicals by 2025. So bio-based manufacturing of specialty chemicals makes use of renewable feedstocks like biomass, landfills, automobile exhaust, industry pollutants, and it converts them through biotechnological interventions such as synthetic biology tools, cell-based factories, and fermentations to either raw materials and then specialty chemicals or directly to specialty chemicals. Now let us see how petrochemical-based manufacturing compares with biomanufacturing. So as I mentioned earlier, chemical manufacturing processes use non-renewable resources like fossil fuels, petrochemical products as feedstocks. And these are largely being imported by India. While biomanufacturing processes use renewable resources like biomass, landfill, sludge, etc., and they are abundant in the country. Land usage, chemical manufacturing processes make use of large units, so the land usage is very high, while biomanufacturing processes will make use of smaller fermentation-based units, so the land usage would be relatively low. Technical complexity of the manufacturing processes for chemical manufacturing is very high. For biomanufacturing processes, it is relatively moderate. Energy efficiency for chemical manufacturing processes is very high. They operate at very high temperatures and pressures. While energy efficiency for manufacturing processes is high, as they operate at moderate temperature and pressure, chances of diversifying to other chemicals is not possible in case of chemical manufacturing. So the refinery that is producing a particular chemical has to restrict itself to that particular chemical. While for biomanufacturing, there are opportunities to diversify to other chemicals. For chemical manufacturing processes, only big investors can come in to set up and operate large infrastructures required for chemical manufacturing. While in case of biomanufacturing processes, opportunities exist for small, medium investors and startups. They can set up biomanufacturing plants at low capex and can do innovative work for biomanufacturing of bio-waste products. So capital expenditure, as I mentioned, is high, very high for chemical-based manufacturing, while it is relatively low for bio-based manufacturing, and hence small and medium ventures can actually come in. Environmental challenges are also very high for chemical-based manufacturing because high levels of greenhouse gas emissions are associated with it. While for biological manufacturing processes, they are environmental friendly. Moreover, chemical manufacturing processes will eventually result in resource depletion, particularly of fossil fuels. Biomanufacturing processes are more sustainable because they will depend on biomass, sludge, and landfills, which are ample in the country. So, despite the mentioned benefits of biomanufacturing, currently several challenges exist in biomanufacturing of bio-based chemicals, and these can be addressed through research. Next slide. These include lack of very efficient cell-based factories that can produce bio-based products at scale, fermentation process limitations, low titers, low productivity, toxicity, and low retention times, limited access to downstream facilities for startups. Most technologies have been optimized for sugar-based feedstock, and we eventually need to shift to bio-based feedstocks. There is currently little market interest in bio-based chemicals due to economics, uncertain policies, and regulatory issues. GMOs currently are not widely accepted by the industry, but this is now getting resolved. And the major issues with this were largely the GM strains delivered to the industries were not stable integrants, and surplus cell mass of the GM microbes produced could not be used for downstream applications such as animal feed or biofertilizers. Another major hurdle is lack of facilities for scale up of technologies which are available currently with the laboratories and with the startups. Despite this, country has made significant progress in the direction of biomanufacturing of bio-based chemicals, and a lot of leads are available with the laboratories, startups, and industries which need to be scaled up. And this is where the Bio E3 policy will come in. Next slide. So the following implementation strategy will be followed to facilitate biomanufacturing of bio-based chemicals under the Bio E3 policy. We will aim at identifying chemicals of national importance based on market value, import-export data, existing TRN and productivity levels, and so on. We will focus on discovery and innovative research for the development of more efficient strains, process intensification, and efficient downstream processing. For bridging the gap to scale up, technologies will be developed. More improved technologies will be developed. We will also focus on setting up of biofoundries and biomanufacturing hubs for the scale up of technologies which are available in the laboratories and with startups to pre-commercial levels. The policy also focuses on creating platforms for marketing of bio-based chemical products and also addressing regulatory hurdles associated with it. These strategies will eventually aim at contributing towards carbon neutrality and zero emission goals in the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your comprehensive insights into this critical subsector of bio-based chemicals. It is now my pleasure to welcome Dr. S. Venkata Mohan, Chief Scientist at CSIR IICT Hyderabad. Dr. Mohan is a distinguished researcher in the field of advanced waste remediation, biorefineries, bioelectrochemistry, life cycle analysis, and circular bioeconomy strategies with numerous accolades, including the prestigious Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Prize and the DBT Tata Innovation Fellowships. Sir, the floor is yours now.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Amit. Are you able to see my presentation?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Very good afternoon to all. I would like to thank DBT for giving me DBT and BioRack for giving me this opportunity to share some of my views on bio-based chemicals specific to academic thing related to challenges and opportunities I would like to speak today. So why to go with bio-based interventions in chemical industry is one of the major thing which we have to discuss. Basically, chemical industry, it's intensive with respect to resource, energy and emissions. So when we look into the greenhouse gas emissions in the industrial sector, chemical and petrochemical sector will come at third position after hard hitting industries like iron and steel and cement, particularly with respect to greenhouse gas emissions. It associates with 50% of GHG emissions in the industrial sector, and it depends on fossils, particularly for as a feedstock as well as energy is one of the major concern. So in this context, the need for transition, particularly towards net zero emission by 2070 is very important to go towards low carbon future. And decarbonizing the life cycle of chemical production is very important. It plays a very major role in addressing the climate change. And also the requirement of moving from linear fossil-based economy to circular bioeconomy is very much important in order to address the climate change issues as well as material requirement for future generation. So I would like to put some of the key drivers here. The recent Bio3 policy fostering biomanufacturing is one of the key drivers, which will have significant influence on the chemical industry to move towards bio-based processes. So apart from that, the coming environmental regulation in future, apart from requirement for eco-friendly products, as well as renewable feedstock, which needs to be used because fossil-based will not be available for future generation. Apart from biotechnology advancements, which happened for last 20 years, are some of the important drivers in association with Make in India and PLSI scheme. Also, the bioeconomy, which is going to come with these policy, will also address the need of rural development as well as regional development. So all these are the key drivers I would like to say to move chemical industry to bio-based interventions. So next slide, please. So when we look into the market growth, what Dr. already Vaishali Punjabi has discussed, but I would like to say here that the Indian share in the global chemical sector will be tripled by 2040, wherein the specialty chemical sector, which is a sub-segment, will have a direct role to play, and it will be increasing by 10 times when we compare with 2021 figures by 2040. And basically, Indian bio-based chemical market will be have a high CAGR up to 15% in next 5 years. When we compare with global market share, it is about 12% of CAGR. So when we look into the current share, particularly with respect to 2023, near to 15% of global share is bio-based platform specialty chemicals. Only we can see higher adaptation in Europe and North America. Asia Pacific accounts for 10%. But in the future forecast by 2030, it will reach to 25% in a global market, wherein Europe and America will be reaching to 30%, and Asia Pacific will be going to 20%, which is a major thing. So when we look into the key segments with bio-based chemicals, we can broadly classify into platform chemicals, which at present 10% is being by bio-based production, and polymers about 3%, and solvents about 12%. So I would like to say that market is significant, particularly for India, export market in this specialty chemicals, and moving towards bio-based thing is very much required in this direction. So coming to the bio-based platform, so when we want to go a bio-based platform, as already Dr. Vaishali told, sustainability is a major key, and it has a lot of sustainability opportunities. Nearly about 60% of physical inputs right now in the global economy can be replaced with biological thing. So that is very important with respect to sustainability. And also, we can go with deep emission reduction for decarbonization by substituting with renewables as well as low energy, low emission energy, apart from reducing carbon capture, utilization, and storage. And if we are able to, hello, if we are able to close the loop, closing the circular economy, going towards circular economy, the global circularity, if we are able to double, we can reduce emission by near to 40% and also total material footprints near to about 28%. So when we look into the platform, bio-based platform, here I try to list some of the things like feedstock. We have a spectrum of feedstock starting from lignocellulose crop residues to sugar crops as well as bio-waste. Also the emissions coming from industries like CO2, syngas, and biogas. And we have spectrum of process being at different stages, which is fermentation is a mature technology, and thermochemical and chemical catalysis is also useful to integrate with biological process to move towards sustainable bio-based economy. So platforms, particularly with biorefinery, we have many platforms like sugar platform, oil, as well as biogas platform with spectrum of products that have application as a chemical, material, and energy products. So I would like to say that there is a significant scope for moving towards bio-based economy towards chemical industry. So when we look into the biomass platform, particularly biomass from crop residues, which apart from microalgae and some of the waste, we have significant composition, chemical composition, as we can see, the fraction of cellulose as well as hemicellulose, apart from lignin, covers near to 30% of each when looking into the composition, has significant role to play towards production of sugars, which is very important for fermentation. Apart from platform molecules, I try to list here some of the molecules which will also function as key derivatives and as a final products with different application. So biomass, the feedstock also can be addressed with sustainability in biomanufacturing of chemicals. So also when we look into the variation with microorganism with respect to its metabolic pathways, it has significant potential to move towards different chemicals, bio-based chemicals, with the triggering of metabolic activity or engineering the metabolic activity. For example, solventogenesis is very critical to produce solvents. Apart from yeast has multiple applications. It can produce lipids, it can also produce other value-added products and chemicals, including scaling. Photosynthesis is a major thing which will take, with microalgae specifically, can take CO2 either in inorganic form or carbon in organic form and produce biomass and other spectrum of chemicals, which also is one of the versatile route, apart from beta oxidation, reverse beta oxidation, and a very important Woodlinger pathway where we can convert CO2 directly with a specific group of bacteria to convert it to platform chemicals. So there is a significant scope for moving towards bio-based chemicals using metabolic pathways. And some of the bio-based chemicals, which is in different stages of development, try to listed here. Here in growth stage, about 27 chemicals are there at different stages, which is listed in this table. In Indian context, Indian glycol, IOCL, as well as Godavari biorefineries, apart from Praj, are looking into establishing chemical-based, bio-based platform for chemicals, wherein some of the chemicals which are different pipelines was listed on the left side, which growth stage is listed in the left side, while pipeline stage, there are near to 30 chemicals in the global context, where I can see from IEA 2020, wherein many of the companies like Noengine, BASF are also looking into slowly moving from fossil-based chemical sector to bio-based chemical sector and doing significant progress in this direction. So, however, to move to this bio-based platform for chemicals, there are a lot of challenges, as Dr. Vaisali and Dr. Alaka has explained earlier, and also we have same opportunities also. So basically, when we look into the advantage, we can significantly reduce emissions, and the less unit operations are there, we can produce very less waste by this process and have very positive impact on climate. The table here I took from IEA shows that significant reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, the different platform chemicals which can produce biological route. So we can see that there is a significant advantage with respect to climate change as well as decarbonizing the system, whole system. But there are challenges, particularly when we look into feedstock and building blocks. There are diverse nature of feedstock available, which needs to be pre-treated and processed to get to our major feedstock to go with the chemical synthesis food. And apart from that, we have a supply chain problems issues, and availability is also a major issue. Coming to the process, the basic problem is with respect to low titer and toxicity, as well as longer reaction times or retention times, which can be addressed with synthetic biology interventions or along with improving the fermentation efficiency by process intensification. So another major thing is with respect to economics and commercial viability. The products which is coming from biological roots, when we compare with the petrochemical things, they're a little expensive and they have very low market interest because of its high cost. However, the policy will address all these things. However, to reduce the cost of these products, we can go with integrated process like semi-synthesis as well as biorefineries, which will have a lot of impact on economics of the final product. So sustainable considerations are also very important. So all process, we cannot imagine that they are sustainable. We have to look into LCA and to assess with the major fossil-based process, is our bio-based process sustainable or not. As mentioned earlier, scale-up is one of the major requirements for many of the process which require high capital and also production costs are more. So these can be addressed by the Bio-E3 policy as well as biomanufacturing, which will support handhold the industry, particularly SME and MME, to go towards scaling up the process or addressing with pilot scale things. And downstream processing are also very important. So energy incentive-based push is also very much required apart from regulatory issues, as discussed earlier, specifically with respect to products and process as well as technologies. So, Bio-E3 policy, which fosters biomanufacturing, is one of the enabler, particularly to move towards bio-based manufacturing. The domestic bio-based manufacturing is very much important to move towards decarbonization. And biomanufacturing hubs, which Department of Biotechnology and BioRack under Bio-E3 policy is being proposed, has a lot of advantage to handhold the industry to move towards final translation, particularly biomanufacturing hub, which are going to design and establish a different base of India, will have all kinds of accessories that support the industries to start from metabolic pathway, downstream processing, as well as process optimization to sustainability analysis, finally towards translation. So this will have a long run to take the technologies that has been at different stages, particularly with respect to the chemical process, to move towards bio-based thing. So way forward, I would like to say India has a very great opportunity to establish global leadership in biomanufacturing by establishing and boosting the biomanufacturing hubs, domestic biomanufacturing capability, and has this will have a lot of leverage, particularly with respect to climate change, and also improve job opportunities apart from addressing innovative biotechnology. And I would like to say the biomanufacturing hubs are the initiative will have a long way and will definitely do the R&D and industrial production integration. And here I would like to say that synthetic biology and bioengineering interventions are very much required, apart from augmenting renewable influx, as well as CCUS as integral part. And most important, public-private partnership will enable the fostering of these kind of things in a faster rate. And I will also would like to say that carbon market implementation is very much important to integrate with these kind of industry in order to get the benefit of sustainability in the longer run. So thank you very much for your kind attention, and thank you, DBT, for giving me this opportunity.
Providing an excellent overview of the bio-based subsector from an academic perspective. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Ashwini Shetty, Strategy and Technology Lead, Renewable Chemicals and Materials at Praj Industries. Academically, she holds a PhD in microbiology from the University of Pune with research spanning microbiology and molecular biology. She has been recognized with a Fulbright Fellowship alongside numerous patents and publications. Dr. Shetty has been instrumental in shaping Praj's strategic direction, particularly in the commercialization of advanced technologies. Her passion for green technologies drives her to explore innovative solutions that promote positive environmental changes. With this, I invite Dr. Shetty.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
And can you see my slides? Hello?
It is clear, Dr. Ashwini. Please go ahead.
Yes. First of all, thank you, Deputy Dr. Sharma and Dr. Punjabi, for giving me this opportunity. A very insightful talk from a academia perspective. I would like to give an industry perspective on this, on bio-based chemicals. The first and foremost thing is selection of molecules, because unless and until you select the proper target, uh, can you see my slides still?
Yes, we can see your slides. Please go ahead.
Okay. So selection of molecules is the key initiative that industry has to take, because as Dr. Venkat Mohan has shown, that there is an ample choice for selection. So there has to be a clear-cut guiding principles within an organization for selection of the molecule. So based on the market and technology readiness level, sustainability advantage, pricing, the market, other parameters like pricing volatility, IP strength, then the level of complexity in the technology development, their market entry barriers, then level of confidence and level of competition. So these are the different parameters that one has to look into for selection of any molecule. Of course, based on everyone's or the organization or the company's business synergy and whatever the infrastructure and expertise available there, one need to develop the matrices for each of these parameters to see the molecules through these different parameters. So I've tried to basket these different parameters into three main categories, that is technology, journey to market, and growth prospects. So first, in case of technology, the first thing is global technology readiness level, then the patent landscape, the sustainability quotient, and who are the players involved in the technology development. In case of journey to market, one need to see that what are the different products, intermediates and final products are possible from a starting molecule, which market sector we are trying to enter into, whether it is like a industrial chemical or pharma or food or what it is. Then what are the opportunity challenges, whether this is a first of its kind or there are several already players in the market, and who can be the collaborators if we decide to enter into the market. Then what are the growth prospects? So what is the market potential? What is the competition? Whether there is a freedom to operate, and then the organization's ability to capture this market. So behind each and every this parameter, there has to be a matrices. So this matrix gives you one kind of number, and then from there you can shortlist actually the from a pool of numbers. So step can be like you start with 30 to 40 or 50 number of molecules. So there the first thing is we have to select the sector, whether it has to be a commodity chemical or a specialty chemical, and among the sectors, whether it is a pharma or food or industrial chemical, depending on the business energy or your interest. Then go to 10 or 12, and then finally go to like 3 or 5 finally selected molecules. One also need to look at what exactly you have inside the organization and what you have outside the organization. So, Venkat Mohan talked about feedstock, that is biomass. So, feedstock pre-processing itself is a science, and you need a lot of infrastructure for that. So, you need to see that whether you have that expertise and infrastructure. Then comes the actual technology for production of the molecule. Scale up plays extremely important role, and then the market part is who will produce it. This is the key parameter which decides the progress of any molecule in case of bio-based molecules. And you may have come across value of death. So value of death is a very famous phenomenon in case of bio-based chemicals, especially that starting from scale up and production, most of the organizations or startups have died. Those who can go through or wear through this phase of development can only reach to the market. So this is the most important part which you need to think of right from the beginning. And then if you are selecting one or more molecules, even if it is like one molecule, you have to really chart out that how it's going to get developed across the years, across the expertise, across the TRL and CRL level. So TRL is technology readiness level, and CRL looks at actual commercialization readiness level, which involves like what is the business model that you're going to look at, what is the financial model, licensing, production, how you're going to position your molecule in the market, how you're going to position the company in the market. So this roadmap needs to be ready before we start actually the technology development, because that tells you that what can be the challenges along the path. One also need to look at the competency buildup. So starting from TRL, if you are playing in the level of TRL 4 to 7, suppose, then you need all the competencies, that is core competencies required for technology development. Applied competency is required mainly for application development and scale up, and then the business competency. So once you go through different TRL levels, you need different competencies, and you have to actually decide that in which TRL I am going to play or which TRL I'm going to stop and take it to market. Just to give an example of journey to market, so once at the end of all this exercise, now we have selected probably 3 or 5 molecules or one molecule at which we are going to look at and start a technology development. Once we finalize that, we also need to look at the journey to market of this molecule. I'll just zip through these slides because this is just an example that how you can look at journey to market. So I've taken example of isosorbide. So you have to look at what are the different intermediates and final products which are possible from isosorbide. Then what is the technology actually? The steps in the technology and where you can play, what are the different steps in that, what are the different feedstocks available. So this is actually based on the literature and the patents, and then you have to select which feedstock you want to start with. Then you have to go into each and every step and looking at what is existing or trends which are coming up. So this you have to do for each and every step, and then go patent profile. So how crowded it is, can you get, what is the IP strength, can you get the freedom to operate in this. On this, you also have to look at which sector actually you want to enter into. So there can be different intermediates and different application sectors you can enter with isosorbide. Suppose if you select with polycarbonate, then you are also need to look at the ecosystem along the polycarbonate. So what is the market, which exactly molecule you are going to replace, because in case of bio-based molecules, most of the times we look at replacing the fossil based polymer. or fossil based molecule. So you have to look at what is the replacement market you are looking at. And in case of again polycarbonate, you have to chart the journey to market. So who is going to actually produce it, and how this polycarbonate is actually going to enter into the or reach to the final customer. And then look at again who are going to be your technology partners, who are going to be your collaborators, who are going to be your producers, who are going to be your manufacturers, and your final brand owners. So this is a journey to market that you have to chart down and keep on refining at every step of development. Then the most important part is execution and monitoring, and there StageGate helps immensely. DBT has also published one format for StageGate. This is a typical StageGate that we follow at PRAS. At every stage and every gate, you have to define your parameters. So I would say DBT has defined the parameters, but you have to make it amenable for your organization and your surrounding. And you have the main crux is meticulously following this stage gate. Look at each and every parameter. If you are suppose at bench scale or you are at demo scale, following each and every parameter which has been written in the stage gate extremely plays important role in the final success. Uh, so making first developing stage gate and then implementing it and monitoring. So monitoring plays another important role. So there is a set of people who are involved in the technology development, and there has to be an independent body who actually monitors this, who doesn't have any vested interest in the development. So then only a body can give you a very independent and unbiased view that where exactly you are during this process, doing the benchmarking, competitive landscaping, and technology landscaping plays very, very important role. So even if you've done it right in the beginning, you have to follow that process throughout this journey. Uh, the first and foremost important thing is looking at the costing. So operational cost and capital expenditure required for the plant, for the final commercial plant and demo plant, you have to start preparing for that from the lab stage. Most of the technologies can't go up to the next stage only because we don't pay attention to the costing part. So that plays very, very important role. Dr. Vaishali also covered that high cost of molecules is deterrent. Why? Because we don't pay attention right in the beginning. If we pay attention, then we can modify the process accordingly. We also need to look at the ecosystem development. So even if it is a specialty chemical or a commodity chemical, uh, not a single entity can enter into the market and make it as a success unless and until you are like a huge or a big multi-billionaire company. So you have to actually form this. I have made this ecosystem for PRAS for PLA. You have to develop, one has to develop this ecosystem based on the target molecule. So who are your technology partners, who are your application development partners, who are your production partners, who is going to take the product to the final customer. So first identify the customer who will help or who will facilitate this journey, who are going to be your advisors, who will help to mitigate through the regulatory system if there is any end of life scenario in case of bio-based chemicals, whether it is hazardous, non-hazardous. If you are looking at the production plant, which certification or regulatory structure you have to follow. So all that thing comes into the ecosystem development, and you have to start looking into this once you start thinking of pilot scale. And then comes the commercialization plan. So this, as I said, from us in a stage gate, it is technology readiness level as well as the commercialization readiness level that you have to look at all the time. In commercialization plan, there are again different steps. Then first, market analysis that you have to do all through. Then the organization need to define the business model. That are you going to license the technology? Are you going to enter into production, or are you going to make a JV? What is going to be your actual revenue model? If it is a startup, you have to keenly look at what is going to be the revenue model. uh, uh, for this, you have to look at value proposition. What is the value that you are getting it to the market? And if you are looking at any kind of partnerships or collaboration, what your partner is bringing to the table. Based on that, you have to chalk out the plan of action. For commercialization, there has to be a dedicated team. So you have to look at the org structure and, of course, the R&D pathway. Once you are done, you are not there. Many a times you have to go to the market with version 1 technology. So you also need to find out that are you going to stop at this technology readiness or technology level, or you are going to continue this technology development. And then there has to be a proper action plan in the place with respect to sales and marketing efforts. If you get an inquiry or if you get a partner customer, how you're going to deal with this customer, how you're going to order accept the order, and how you're going to execute this order. Or even if it is licensing, like are you going to involve any third party legal team, or any other third party entity to take your molecule to the market. And this is the iterative process. So, this is a very brief and bird's eye view of looking at entering into the market with bio-based chemicals. Thank you once again to DBT, Dr. Sharma, and Dr. Punjabi for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shetty, for providing an excellent overview of the bio-based chemical subsector from an industrial perspective. We will now open the floor for questions from our audience. Please type your questions in the chat box, and our team of moderators from DBT and BIRAP will assist you in facilitating the discussion. Over to Dr. Amit Tripathi, Scientist D, DBT, and Dr. Sujit from BIRAP.
Unshare the slide. Unshare the slide. Message. Solar switch on. ले लो फोटो ले लो. ओके ये हटा लो. खाली स्क्रीन रखो. साइड के उठाओ. होना चाहिए. अभी नहीं. और ठीक.
Am I audible? Are you audible, ma'am?
Yeah.
Yes. Please go ahead.
Yeah. The first question is from Dr. Bhanvi Kumawat, and this is addressed to Dr. Alka ma'am. She is asking, will the policy address the regulatory hurdles like use of genetically modified organisms associated with production of bio-based chemicals?
Thank you, Sujit. It's a very important question. And this as policy addresses all components, and that also includes regulatory scenario in each of the thematic sectors. So as I mentioned, and my also other speakers mentioned, there are 6 thematic areas and also the sub sectors. And For each thematic area, there is a requirement of the regulatory reforms. For example, the way we have bio-based chemicals, and the question is for this only. So the regulatory scenario, we are now in the process of discussion with the appropriate agency in the government, and the question which says that genetically modified, that also is a very, very important component of this. I think DBT has to will work with this all stakeholders. Working towards the regulatory reform for this is very, very important. And we all agree that this is the most important component of the sector to bring the products in the market. Thank you. Over.
Thank you, ma'am. So the next question is from Dr. Varun Kumar. It is addressed to Dr. Venkata Mohan. And Dr. Varun is asking, is there a national priority list of bio-based chemicals considering the cost, demand, and availability of these chemicals?
Dr. Venkat, we are unable to hear you.
So it's unmuted. Sorry for that. So it's a very interesting question. So a DBT and Biorac team, along with some of the industry partners and academicians, we try to look into spectrum of chemicals that will come under these things based on the market and DRL levels, specifically with respect to India as well as global context, and come up with about 20 chemicals in three categories, that is specialty chemicals, polymers, as well as some kind of other chemicals which can go as surfactants. So there is exercise was done by DBT and by RAC, and I think it will come soon in the website. Dr. Punjabi, Dr. Vaishali Punjabi madam can tell about it.
Okay, thank you, sir. So the next question is from Dr. Neha. It is addressed to Dr. Ashwini. She is asking why refineries must utilize renewable energy to reduce their carbon footprint. So what steps are being taken by the industry in this direction?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure, ma'am. So Dr. Neha is asking, biorefineries must utilize renewable energy to reduce their carbon footprint. What steps are being taken by the industry in this direction?
Okay. So it starts with the feedstock. So what kind of feedstock you're using plays very, very important role. The other parameters that play important role in carbon footprint are energy requirement and the other chemicals, selection of chemicals which are used during the production. And you have to take care of these things while developing the technology. So we at Praj do this calculation along the technology development to look at and to keep the carbon emissions down. Like to put another point here is this plays very, very important role when you are looking at mainly biofuels. In case of biochemicals, again you have to definitely look at this, but actually reducing the carbon is very, very difficult in case of materials because it is a carbon rich molecules. So it is not decarbonization but just a defossilization, that you are making this molecule from bio-based feedstocks rather than fossil-based feedstock. That is a very important point looking at when you're looking at bio-based chemicals.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is from Dr. Shikha Gaikwad. It is addressed to Dr. Ashwini again. She is asking, can you please comment on the scope of biosurfactants in Indian industrial sector?
So biosurfactants, I would say there are certain examples where biosurfactants are reaching the market. The very important thing which is a deterrent is the cost of production, because the surfactants, price wise, they may not be in the commodity sector, they may be in the middle of specialty and commodity. But there are n number of molecules which go into the final product. So cost of production of biosurfactant plays very important role. Another important thing is one has to look at the application development part. So just the production is not enough. We also need to look at the application development. From a market scenario, there are one or two surfactants which are biosurfactants which are already there in the market. May not be in India, but yes, they are there. As far as I know, there are no large producers of biosurfactants in India.
Thank you, ma'am. Now Sudhir will ask some questions which he has got from industry participants.
Thank you, Dr. Amit. First question, ma'am, this is for you, for Alka, ma'am. It's from Dr. Nelson. He's asking, ma'am, bio-based materials and products tend to be more expensive than fossil-based equivalents. So, does the policy include any measures to address this issue?
Yes. So this is very important aspect of the policy, because if you really see, there are three baskets under which the emphasis will be given to develop products. So first is discovery and integrated network research. So that is to establish proof of concept. But the second one is very important. That is bridging the gap, scaling up. So we agree that when you start with some product, bio-based product initially, because the manufacturing has to be at the level where we can reduce the cost once it is in the market and it is being utilized by the masses. So scaling up is the second category, where bridging the gap. Once it is scaled up, then it comes to pre-commercialization, and then finally commercialization stage where the product can come to the market. This policy addresses up to pre-commercialization stage, that is right from the discovery and integrated network research, following the next step is scaling up and the pre-commercial. Once it is established as pre-commercial, then the next step would be the commercialization. So this policy is addressing all these aspects very nicely, and it's a connect the dots right from the beginning to develop proof of concept, scaling up, and pre-commercial stage. So once it will be developed in the country and is affordable cost, indigenously produced by the industries, so the cost of the bio-based products will go down. But it depends on the nature of product also, and that is what stage the product is. Thank you. Over.
Thank you, ma'am. And the participant will also thanks you. Is satisfied with the questions. So thanks to you, ma'am. So the final question for today's webinar we take from Dr. Hiral from Gujarat. This is for Dr. Venkat Mohan, sir. Sir, the question is for lignin. Neither chemically nor biotechnologically platforms provide satisfactory results, despite lignin being the most abundant source of aromatic moieties in nature. So, enabling a scaled up lignin platform is to produce aromatic molecules, which is probably one of the most important challenges in the next decade in this field. So, what are your thoughts, your comments on this, sir?
Dr. Venkat, can't hear you.
Yeah, thank you. So, sorry for it, the audio. So, the lignin is one of the versatile chemical, particularly look into its chemistry and its application. As you rightly told, it needs to be addressed in a significant way. Right now, it is being addressed specifically with respect to chemical catalysis as well as biological process. Number of platform chemicals can be produced by using lignin. So the basic thing is, in a biorefinery format, we can separate cellulose as well as lignin apart from hemicellulose. Cellulose can go for sugars or kind of a cellulose-based derivatives, wherein lignin can be separated like alkaline lignin and then it can be converted into chemicals, particularly which has a market based on the market availability, market requirement. So hemicellulose basically we can convert into oligosaccharides and other kind of sugars that will have its own market in fermentation industry. So on the whole, when we look into the biorefinery and targeting lignin as a main feedstock for chemical platform chemicals, that will have a significant importance in bio-based economy. Thank you.
Hi, audible, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah, over to Dr. Amit.
Thank you, Dr. Amit and Dr. Sujit. As we come close to this insightful webinar, I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to all the speakers for their valuable contributions. Your insights have shed light on the immense potential of this subsector of biomanufacturing of bio-based chemicals towards achieving sustainable growth in India. For those unable to attend live, the webinar recording will soon be available on the DBT and BIRAC website. Finally, please mark your calendar for our next webinar in this series, which will continue to explore various thematic areas of the Biofoundry and Biomanufacturing Initiative. Details will be shared soon on the DBT and BIRAC websites and through various social media platforms. Thank you once again to our speakers, participants, and the organizing team for making this event a success. We look forward to your continued engagement in the upcoming webinars. Have a great weekend ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.